Ladies and gentlemen, the American Jury and Bulldog Nation, welcome to the Eric Deters Show, where we are Americans fighting for America. Let's go. Our national news. Trump had a cabinet press conference yesterday. Look at this. And it was a thing of beauty. I did a Facebook Live about it. Donald Trump answering question after question, showing his knowledge of everything. I mean, like when you're talking about Afghanistan, I mean, everything, his knowledge of it. And that cabinet, incredible. After this cabinet press conference, he had a cabinet meeting. And at that meeting, which was without the press, I'm sure they went a long way to solve problems. And his cabinet is chock full of people who are following his lead and are doers right out of the box. And including, they began the cabinet meeting with a prayer. It was beautiful. All right, Epstein report, list, everything. Pam Bondi announced yesterday that today the Epstein file list, client list, she says there is some real sick stuff. Can you imagine what it must be like for Pamela Jo Bondi and Kash Patel to get in those positions and see what has been hid for so long? It's got to be pretty wild. But anyway, let's see. Let's see who's on that list. All right, Afghanistan withdrawal. This came up in the cabinet meeting. Pete Hegseth says full review. And it's pretty clear that the generals and the people involved in it are going to all get fired. Paper ballots. Trump talked about paper ballots, voter ID, common sense, also at that press conference. The EPA is going to get rid of about 65% of their staff. Folks, anyone who knows anybody who works for the federal government will tell you, they admit to you how it is like way overstaffed. It's way overstaffed. There is discussion to put Trump on a $250 bill. Be interesting. Why not? I'd like to have a wallet full of $250 bills. Jamison Greer has been approved as the United States Trade Representative by the United States Senate. The Washington Post, per Jeff Bezos, editorial board has resigned, and the Post is going to focus on liberty and freedom of expression. What a beautiful thing. Way to go, Jeff Bezos. Washington Post is changing. Eli Lilly, you know what they're doing? They are going to start building lots of facilities here in the United States. Why? Because of tariffs. See, you have to understand that the tariff threat does a lot of things. And one of those things is it encourages people producing here. Because if you produce here, there's no tariff. Eggs. During the cabinet meeting, there was, from the agricultural secretary, a plan, a 5-point plan to reduce the egg shortage and problem that we have in this country. One of the issues is it's like way over-regulated. Trump has floated the issue of a $5 million gold card for wealthy foreigners to come into this country. Instead of a green card, to be called a gold card, costs $5 million. And at first I thought, oh man. But then, you hear the explanation. Trump says if you sold 200,000 of these, it's $1 trillion. Apply it to the debt, whatever. Makes sense to me. And you have to remember something, folks. There's a lot of wealthy people out there that might like to come to the United States. Of course, they'd be screened. All right, BlackRock is getting rid of their DEI policies. How you like that? Jake Tapper, right after the election, hooked up with somebody else, and they've written a book called Original Sin about the cover-up of Joe Biden's health. I remember I told you this was going to come out after, and it's going to be incredible. Some of the stuff we already suspected and knew, but it's going to be fun to hear some of the details of how bad it is. In-N-Out Burger is leaving California and going to Tennessee. I got to ask you a question. Are you aware of any company that's leaving a different state to go to California? I haven't heard any. Dollar General and Walgreens continue to shut down stores. That's sad. United Healthcare is under even further scrutiny for billing fraud. Imagine that. And a TikToker called for the assassination of Elon Musk. Now she's in trouble. That's pretty bad. Advance Auto Parts also is closing stores across the country. I think there's like 700 of them. Catherine Herridge, who worked last at CBS, had an investigative file relative to Hunter Biden taken from her. She's finally gotten it back. Pretty interesting. And the Attorney General of Minnesota is going after Waltz. Well, actually, I take that back. The Speaker of the Legislature of Minnesota is going after Waltz, Tim Waltz, the governor of Minnesota, for what? Fraud. Wild. John Morgan from Morgan & Morgan. You know those Morgan & Morgan commercials? This guy right here founded the company. He's a billionaire about now. He wants to start a new party called No Labels. Well, here's the problem. You're not going to elect anybody. See, I'm starting a party called the American Law Party. And the purpose is to recruit people, but you have to run as a Republican or else you're never going to get elected. Texas, nonprofit down the border connected to somebody on the old transition team of Joe Biden, sits empty, but they got paid lots and lots of money. It's disgusting. Doge thinks that they can save $100 trillion in the end. That'd be beautiful. And $5 million from the Department of Education scam down in good old North Carolina. Folks, we're going to find out so many of these things. It's going to be crazy. Now we move on to local news. This little boy right here in Batavia is the 4-year-old that was killed by a truck. Sad, sad, sad. We'll find out. This is a funny story that I like to mock. I'm going to mock Russell Mock. Russell Mock is the former chairman of the Hamilton County Republican Party. He was a Court of Appeals judge. He's a guy that has to have a public job. Well, now he's found a quasi-public job. He's going to DBL Law, the former law firm of Deters, Benzer, and Lavelle that I was once a partner. Now, you know what he's been hired for, right? Now, you guessed it. And Alex Lenzer, the Hamilton County Democratic Party chair, is going on to lose more at Dinsmore. And we know what that's all about. All right, Jeffrey Waddell, pictured here. This sick guy. He was arrested. He was found in Fort Wright. He had a business there, an IT business. He would either invite them over, invite himself to their house. He would arrange to have contact with them through computer, playing games and videos. 3 11-year-olds and a 14-year-old, and there's more coming through. He's charged with human trafficking, promoting a minor under 16 in sexual performance, sexual abuse, sodomy, all on a it's disgusting. Now, I got to ask you a question, folks, and this is an example of this. If this guy's guilty of all this, why shouldn't he face the death penalty? I don't understand it. 1974, there was a murder out in Boone County of Ed Nichols. He was 22. Boone County now announces that the person who killed him was Bobby Franksman. Doesn't do any good, though, because Bobby Franksman died in 2007. Kentucky protesters, the Kentucky State Legislature is passing a law that allows them to call the cops when people protest them that disrupts their business. April 25th and 26th is going to be Kenton County Cleanup Day. Check it out on the Kenton County website. Jeffrey Lane, pictured here, was arrested. He was shot at somebody, and the SWAT had to be come and called, and they got him. I think this happened down in Newport. Speaking of Newport, Newport is losing a $1 million tree grant as part of all the Doge things. Now, I want to tell you something. Just think. I wonder how much waste. Who really gets the $1 million to plant trees in Newport? And while planting trees sounds wonderful, this is a great example of why in the hell is there a federal grant to plant trees in Newport? Newport could plant their own damn trees. You see what I'm saying? This is exemplary of what goes on in this country. All right, Kentucky homeless, they passed a law that restricts where Kentucky homeless camp, and the homeless are saying now they got to hide. So right now there's a massive hide-and-seek game going on with all the Kentucky homeless. Are you playing? Brian Bogart, who was a lieutenant at the Covington Police Department and involved in the Kentucky State FOP, is under investigation for some mishandling of some money. All right, in world news, Chile lost power. Can you imagine, the whole country lost power and went dark? Trump canceled the Chevron distribution contract for Venezuelan oil. Ouch. Chief Roberts stopped the lower court's order that said Trump had to start distributing this $2 billion of foreign aid. In other words, it was a win for Trump. And a Sudanese military plane went down with over 40 soldiers on it. Sad day for Sudanese. In Sports Without Boundaries, FC Cincinnati made it to the round of 16 in the tournament. And this is interesting. And the Bengals get an F. You ready for this? This is the National Football League Players Association does a confidential poll of players. And the Bengals got an F from their players. Almost disrespectful was a word. What else? You're going to love this. They ranked 32 out of 32 teams in both food taste and freshness. Team's dining area received a dismal rating, 30th in the league. They're one of only 2 teams that don't provide 3 meals a day to their players. Wow. 41% of Bengals player report receiving individualized nutrition plans, ranking the team last in the league. Wow. Bengals negligent in supporting families. Oh, my God. You can't make it up. Good old Cincinnati Bengals. All right, the Grizzlies on Tuesday. I forgot to report this yesterday. 151, Suns 148, highest scoring game of the year. That's like the old NBA that I grew up with. And the Reds in spring training beat the Angels 9-4. And UK came back and won a close one, 83-82 Oklahoma. The star was Oweh, who played last year for Oklahoma. In pop culture, Michelle Trachtenberg, who was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Gossip Girl, passed away at the sad age of 38. Also in pop culture, last night, Gene Hackman died at 95 years old. They found both he and his wife in Santa Fe deceased. There's a police investigation, but they do not suspect foul play. Sounds like a possible mutual, suicide or something. Who knows? But the bottom line is Gene Hackman, what a great actor. He stopped acting, though, in 2004. Seems crazy, doesn't it? And also, Tatum O'Neal was booted out of her father's will. And she said, "Keep it, you mother." Fighting till the very end with her daddy. All right, the Shakespeare insult of the day is, do not be a needle whacker, embolistic lickspittle. Just don't be that. Every dog has their day. I hope today is yours.